We were just commenting that 4 members present is a quorum.
Okay, welcome everyone. We're going to get. Okay, welcome everyone to day 3, session 3 of the 2022 City Council budget hearing. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jean, can you take a roll call for us, please?
Councilman Scringy. Looks like he is absent. Councilwoman Riley.
Present.
Councilwoman Friedman. Looks like she's absent. Councilman Burns.
Present.
Councilman Strawn.
Present.
Councilman Scanlon. Looks like he's absent. And President Rosinetti. Present. All right, so that's 4 present and 3 absent.
Before we start with the budget, Janine would like to make a quick comment about some business that happened late in the afternoon to respond to everybody.
Councilwoman Riley, I saw that you had emailed me and Lee. Councilwoman Friedman also did. Lee is out until Tuesday, and I was trying to get back to you guys. I was just having some email issues at the end of the day, but I should be able to get back to you tomorrow.
I appreciate that, Janine. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, before we start with Jared, I know he's with us on Zoom. I just want to clarify something that an exchange that happened on Monday, mostly between Margaret Myers and a question that Councilwoman Friedman had. But I think it was the issue between us being here and most of you being on Zoom. But I just wanted to clarify because I talked to Margaret Myers today. She did not say that we were doing a citywide reassessment next year. She did not say that. What she was trying to say, and then the exchange got caught in between, is she was referring to the housing bubble that we're experiencing and the inflated prices. And she was saying it would be at least till next year before those might start to equalize a little bit. And she sent me a whole series of things that would have to happen for that to happen. And I think it would be wise for us to do that at a work session and invite her down and have that explain that to us and have that on an agenda. So, we can work with President Rosinetti to do that. But I just wanted to clarify, she did not say that because we were sitting here, and I can understand how the exchange, when she said next year, it sounded, but that's not what she said. And I know it had come out in the debate that happened on Tuesday, and I just wanted to make sure that that is not going to happen. In fact, it would take over 3 years and $3 million. There's a whole bunch of things that would have to happen for that to happen. There's no scenario where that could possibly happen next year, even if we wanted it to. So, and that being said, that is why we do not want to have work session type comments during the budget meeting. There was a great question and a fair question, but not for this forum. So I just want to make sure we keep everything to the budget, because that's what happens. Somebody does a brief response and it gets, and they're not prepared to answer it like that. And that's what happens. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on that.
Councilman Strawn?
Yeah.
Can you share that information that you received via email with us, or is
Sure.
that, thank you.
Yeah, I will send it. I will send it in the morning. Okay, we have Jared Cram with us. We are going to open the title pages: Mayor's Office, Municipal Association Dues, Vital Statistics, Celebrations, Library. Those are represented on pages 15 and 16, 46, 68, 85, and 86. So Jared, if you're ready, you do just tell us which pages you're going on, and we will follow along.
Just
Sure.
as a note, sorry, Councilman Scaringi and Councilwoman Friedman are here now, for the record.
Thank you, Councilwoman
Okay.
Riley. I was having some technical difficulties. I apologize, but I
Thank
am
you.
here now.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Okay, go ahead, Jared.
Okay, I'll go in page order to keep everyone organized. So starting on page 15, the highlights in the mayor's office budget that differ from 2021 are the elimination of professional services for the lead agency project manager for the joint sewage treatment plant, which you'll notice the drop in the personnel services. And then the only other significant change would be traveling training was dropped, mainly because whomever's mayor next year would not be in a leadership role with NICOM, which was kind of the impetus for the increase in travel and training in the 2021 budget. Again, that would cover pages 15 and 16.
Jared, there is a motion that needs to be made on page 15. In the personal services, it says mayor 7, meaning he works 7 hours a day, with the A meaning it's appointed. It really should be E for elected. So if someone can make a motion to change that A to an E. And
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion on page 15, budget line number A1220.51000 personnel services, to have an indicator on the mayoral salary line in that category to be changed from appointed to E elected.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Chuck. Okay, does anybody have any questions for Jared, pages 15 and 16, the mayor's office budget? Okay.
Moving on to page 46, this is municipal association dues. This covers the city's annual membership to the New York Conference of Mayors, NICOM, the municipal organization. They provide a lot of support services, do research on behalf of the city. I know the NICOM council worked with our corporation council, specifically, during COVID on best practices. They keep track of municipal events that are happening in Albany with the budget process. So an invaluable membership that we have with NICOM.
Anybody have any questions on that? Okay.
Councilwoman Friedman has a question. I think she.
Oh,
has
I'm
her
sorry.
hand
Go
up.
ahead. Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Again, I apologize for being late. I was having technical difficulties. And I also apologize because I have a question on page 15 and 16. I'm sorry. I know we just moved on from those. But along the same lines of the amendment that was just made for the appointed to be noted as elected, I noticed that the assistant to mayor for youth and neighborhood affairs was not listed as an appointed position. Do we also have to note that with an A?
it's a civil service position.
Oh,
on it.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Jared, why don't you go ahead to page 68?
Okay. 68 is the city's vital statistics office. As council members know, this is the registrar for birth and death certificates. It is one sole employee and then a half employee or half position that's funded through the clerk's office. This individual works a lot with the hospitals and funeral homes on Department of Health official records. No real material changes at all in the budget from 2021 to 2022. We also generate revenue, which is shown in an A budget line earlier in the budget for vital statistic fees.
Okay, any question on vital statistics? Okay, go ahead, Jared, with the 86 and 85.
Sure. 86, just going in order of what was on the budget list. This is community event sponsorships of different community events, parades, et cetera. You notice that we did reduce the budget line by about half or so. The feeling is, and the belief is that potentially a good use of the ARPA funding would be to support tourism, some of the industries that were hit by the pandemic, and as a way to support them still at the levels that the city was supporting, but not utilize the general fund dollars. Certainly an eligible use of the ARPA money. So in 2022, when the industries that have been hit, they could seek ARPA money, or we can create a fund to fund those.
Jared, would it be fair to say in these last couple events, I noticed that we have pretty good sponsorship as well of certain events? Or is that would that feed into certain community events too?
Say that one more time, Phil. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, would it safe to assume even the last couple that I was at, the very good sponsorship level as well from community businesses and such, so that feeds into community events as well, and not having to use as much direct resources.
So for example, the city supports Luma on an annual basis. The city supports certain aspects of the St. Patrick's Parade Day, Porch Fest sponsorship, that type of thing. So those are tourism community events that would be eligible for a different funding source. But as you said, Councilman, those receive other funding sources as well for sponsorship.
Okay, any questions on the celebrations? Other questions? Okay, joint public library.
Sure. So, and I kind of give the same description every year. So the city of Binghamton contributes hundreds of thousands of dollars to Broome County for operation of the downtown library. This is an agreement that was set up in the early 2000s, if not the year 2000. So you'll see that it's up from 2021. That's calculated on a consumer price index that's agreed between the county finance department and our controller. So this represents, and I've told this to every city council, a compounding cost to the city of Binghamton. So just something that folks should be aware of. Over the 20-year plus history of this, the city has contributed millions of dollars to the general operations of the downtown library. So obviously something that the city can be proud of. I think the library is one of the most attended venues, visited venues in Broome County. But at that, support, it comes at certainly a great cost to city taxpayers. And as it continues to compound, obviously, something to keep an eye on moving in the future.
Councilwoman Freeman. Go ahead.
Thank you. My question is, why do we see less than half of the money that was in the 2021 budget having been expended thus far? Are we expecting a large expenditure at the end of the year?
They bill us typically quarterly, and Chuck can jump in here, but we had asked some questions about 2020 billing. As you will recall, the county shifted some personnel resources in 2020 to cover contact tracing, to cover some childcare. Library employees were utilized. I don't disagree with that. I think they had to do what they had to do, but we just wanted a better account of what library budgets were kind of at. So we may be a few months behind in terms of getting those bills paid from Broome County.
I see. And that's due to the fact that library staff were not performing their normally expected duties, but rather they were reassigned to do other things. And so that's why the bills have to catch up. Am I understanding that correctly?
We've just been asking for some information, and
Okay.
we haven't gotten it yet, but typically we're billed on a quarterly basis.
Aviva, I actually sent the bill and it'll be paid next week for this second half. 21.
I see. So there's 2 quarters you sent for the 3rd quarter, and
I
then
sent-
there's going to be 2 more.
No, I sent in the third
One
and
more.
fourth quarter.
The 3rd,
together.
sorry, 3rd quarter, right?
They're both being paid next week.
Oh, they both are. Okay. All right. Thank you for the explanation.
Okay, any other questions on Jared's pages that he presented to us?
Mr. Chairman, if there's no other discussion or questions, I'll make a motion to approve pages 15, 16, 46, 68, 86, and 89.
Second.
85 instead of
86 and
89.
85, right?
Right.
86 and 85. I'll amend the motion to include 85. Thank you, Councilwoman Ray.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you, Jared.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Enjoy.
Thank you, Jared.
Okay, we have Mr. Lake here. So he's going to go over engineering. And then, as we've had before, there's a small portion of capital projects on page 212 associated with that. So with that, we will officially open pages 29 and 30 and the engineering portion on page 212. So we'll start right on page 29, just start right at the top and highlight, those 2 pages, whatever you think is pertinent for us, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Under personal services, the one thing we might know, I think everything is pretty much the same, except I have sort of put the administrative as the senior account clerk typist on hold. And we're working with just the administrative assistant, and she's working out to do both jobs fairly efficiently. So that's a note there. Under the temporary services, the miscellaneous construction inspector is one person, and he goes around and not only does he work with Public Works and check the mill and pave projects, he also checks our construction projects and helps out the inspector that's there on the site. There's not much changes going down through there. Everything is pretty much on that first page on page 29 is pretty much the same as it was. We go to page 30. The professional services for consulting services and environmental services has been cut slightly. The technical services are slightly cut, but still, I think what we can operate with. And of course, the street repairs aren't there. The general infrastructure improvements is down, but I think it's in according with what 21 was, so that should be okay. Equipment repairs and maintenance, that's for the contract to repair our huge plotter up in the engineering office. And then the other 2 items are pretty much as they were. No changes.
Okay, Councilman Scringy, you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hey, Ron, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. I had 2 questions. So on the bottom of page 29, line 54401, the levy study and improvements. So what was adjusted for this year has already been expended. And this year, or for next year rather, it's being zeroed out. Is there a particular reason why that is?
Gio, what happened is a couple years ago, we did an RL that moved money down, and I can't remember exactly the name of the firm that did the work. But it was a total of, I believe, Tetra Tech. It was $185,000. They spent 158 of it in 2020, and the remaining 25,000 this year. That project's done.
Okay. Got it. Okay, that was the RL we passed a little while back in relation to like the study of the levees and their strength and all that stuff, right? If I
Yes.
remember
Yes, that was
correct.
part of it.
Yeah, yeah, okay, so that line was created to pay that out. Okay, all right. that
At
makes-
some point in the future, we may go back and have to do some work on those.
Right, yeah, that makes sense.
It
Sure.
has to be determined.
Definitely. And then, thank you for that, Chuck. And then the second question I had on page 30, line 54456. Again, so 10,535 for this year, and it's already been paid out, and what's being proposed is essentially been cut in half for next year. Is there not as much infrastructure improvement being proposed, or is that being funded from another line or something like that?
Gio, what we did with this account a couple years ago, we set up this account because a lot of times during the end of the year, something comes up that needs to get done quick that's not on a bond project or
Right.
so we use this money. I believe you have an RL down there coming to you to increase this for something this year. But we don't really necessarily have a plan. It's just like a placeholder for some things that may pop up.
Okay, perfect. Okay, that makes more sense. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Councilwoman Friedman?
Yes, thank you. My question has to do with the personal services lines. So I see that there's 3 positions listed as senior engineers, and they all have different salaries. And can you just talk about the differences between those 3 positions, why they have 3 different salary levels?
I believe most of that has to do with longevity.
There.
So
Aviva,
the
there's-
starting salary would be the same for all of them?
Yes.
Okay,
And one of the individuals may have been here for 35 years. Okay, working in the city where the first one may be a first or second year person.
Ms. Freeman, the top earner in that category started working for the city the year I was born.
okay, that's fair enough. Thanks.
Which explains why he's way up there in the salary compared to the other 2.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Lake on pages 29 and 30? Okay, let's go to page 212. Obviously, and obviously I'm sure Chuck will pitch into this. Your section of this page is obviously the biggest one as far as the dollar amount. So if you could go through those capital improvement lines, that'd be great.
The street reconstruction allows us to continue with our program of fixing the streets and repairing them. And when we do, we actually do water and sewer if it's needed. So there won't be any need to go back and touch those streets for a long time in the future. The mill and pave portion of that comes out of CHIPS funding, which is secured through Public Works. And that's a big chunk of that. And then the other 3 items, or the other 2 items that are right in that first column, are things that are attached to us that I guess we need to do. I think the first one allows maintenance on this facility, I believe.
All we
Okay,
have to talk about it. Let's go for it.
well, that would be
I'll talk about the stadium.
all right.
The $2.7 million for the baseball stadium is what Major League Baseball is saying has to be done to make the stadium compatible to Major League Baseball requirements. Without that, they would not allow a minor league baseball team to continue to play here. The mayor and I do not know that this agreement's been finalized, but hopefully it will be coming to you soon. He's working on an extension of that agreement. I believe it takes us to 2031 with another potential 10 years extension on it. After that, there's many things in this extension. I believe probably not at liberty to talk about it. 'Cause I'm not sure that it's been signed yet, but the mayor and Corp Council is working on it. And the mayor's belief is that the stadium and the Rumble Ponies are a great investment for the city of Binghamton. And after we just put in all the money that we did with the state to lose them, he does not feel that's the proper way to handle the stadium. And I do know that he had a meeting last week with Major League Baseball, and I believe the comment was they can't guarantee that it's not going to take any more money for the next 10 years, but they're hopeful that this resolves all the problems. Some of the things that are on here is warning track, pads on the outfield fences, dugout upgrades, both inside the dugout and clubhouse, are some of the things that I'm aware of.
Councilman Scringy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chuck, so as it relates to the stadium, are you telling me that this 2.75 million is in addition to the 5 million that already got invested there?
Yes.
Because wasn't the understanding that the team could stay because we made those investments already?
For X number of years, Gio, that is correct. I believe that next number of years is up in either the end of next year or the year after. I'm not positive.
So is this being allocated, is this being proposed to be allocated for only next year or for a set of projects that are going to be over N number of years?
It's a set of projects to be done, I believe, by the end of next year.
Thank you.
The major upgrades is in the dugouts and in the clubhouse, but there's also everything that's being done is to meet the requirements of Major League Baseball. There's nothing cosmetic for the Rumble Ponies itself, such as anything to do with their grills or their cooking or things like that. Everything is totally related to baseball playing.
No, I believe that. Like I'm operating on the assumption that none of this is cosmetic and is either, you know, structural or regulatory related. I'm fairly certain that's the case, but I just wow. Okay. Thank you.
I'm speaking, Councilman, Councilwoman. I think it goes out to 2031 plus another 10 years outside that. Have you seen the contract, Brian? I'm not 100% sure. I believe the first one is like 10 years to take it out to 2031. Okay. Then I think there's a 10-year extension thereafter. But the mayor will be coming down with this new agreement here shortly.
Chuck, is there any, to your knowledge, any assurances that it's not just completely open-ended? That there's some, obviously if there's repairs and maintenance, that's one thing, we understand that, but these upgrades that basically say you have to do this or you can't play here, do you think that is there's
Yes.
a certainty to that part?
Yes, there's definitely a certainty to it. And I'll give you some of the examples that I'm aware of is, say that the netting needs to be changed down the road. They're not going to guarantee that, but they may require that.
Right.
Okay, depending on, you know, they're looking out for the safety of the investment of their players.
Right. No, I understand that. I just, at some point, obviously, current upgrades are aside. They can't keep coming back and, just holding the whole thing over our heads necessarily.
And that's part of what I know the mayor.
Well, they
tried to-
can, but we need
Right.
to at least, have a sense of, as time goes, I'm sure over 20 years, there'll be other things, but at least in the near term, I would hope that, because that would be a total of almost $8 million over a relatively recent period.
I'm sure when the mayor has the contract finalized, he'll come down and explain it to everybody. I've been involved in a couple of the conversations, but not to any extent that he has.
Okay, any additional questions for Mr. Lake or Chuck on engineering?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Chuck, really quick, just as a follow-up to that, are we 100% certain that that 2.75 million will all be spent? Because you just said a few minutes earlier that the MLB, Major League Baseball, those who are watching, that the MLB may require, say, for example, netting or something related. Is it a will require or may require?
I'm going to answer that May. Okay, this 2.75 is only part of it. I believe the total improvements that Major League Baseball is requiring right now is roughly 3.3 million, of which we have the difference already in unspent money from the state grant before.
Right. So that state grant that we received, that wasn't 100% expended yet either.
Correct. There's roughly, I think, $500,000 to $600,000 of unspent money in there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chuck.
There's one other thing in this budget that no one's brought up, but I want to make you aware of because I think it's important. There is no money in here for water and sewer lines for next year. We are working on putting together a schedule, and the mayor was going to allocate ARPA funds to go towards doing water and sewer next year after we get that schedule completed, what amount we need.
Right.
And I believe at your next meeting, next work session, that should be coming down. And it's because of that, we're able to keep water rates with no increases and minimal rates to the sewer rates.
Councilwoman Freeman, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, so I have a follow-up question about that. So Mayor David is proposing to allocate ARPA funds for that we haven't received yet for next year.
Yes,
Okay. And this is in addition to, well, so this would be coming from the second tranche of 23 million?
correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, why is nothing being proposed for demolitions next year?
There is demolition in A99,
Is-
50. Oh. Yeah, the
Is it a-
25,000. There's $25,000.
That's just a, yeah, go ahead, Chuck, I'm sorry.
It's $25,000. It's way over on the right-hand side.
Yeah, no, I see it. It's from the general fund. Okay. Okay, thank you.
We've other demolition considered some of the other grants and stuff. So this is just for engineering, supposedly. Demolition.
We can't hear the question.
Angela, what Ron said is a lot of the demolitions come through CDBG. Okay,
Right, yeah.
funding. Okay, this is for things that may pop up, that we need to do an emergency type demolition or things of that nature. Not necessarily a planned one in most cases.
Okay. Any additional questions for Ron or Chuck on this?
I'd like to make a motion to approve pages 30. and 212. Oh, sorry, can you hear me?
No.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve pages 29, 30. and 212. As it pertains to. capital improvement. Somebody second that, or?
Mr.
Sorry,
Chairman,
this is
there's,
Councilwoman Friedman.
there's a lot of audio crunching. I don't think any of us on Zoom can hear anything that's being said.
Councilman
I don't know.
Rossini
I
made a
wonder if
motion to
this-
approve, made a motion to approve page 29, 30, and the engineering portion of 212.
I'll switch.
Okay. Sorry about
Be
that.
better, we
Madam
just
President.
switched.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot better. Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
all right,
Sorry
thanks.
about that.
No, it wasn't working.
Did we have a second on that?
Mr. Chairman, I'll second this, but I'm just going to put this out there, maybe with President Resinetti and Chuck. I don't know if you can help in kind of codifying this. Can we get something official from the MLB stating what it is that they're requiring? Because I'm going to be blunt. I'm pretty sure I was the only one on the body at the time. I voted nay on that whole stadium thing last time. And this is just, I mean, I understand their MLB requirements, but the fact that this is in addition,
Hold on.
and I know obviously the stadium's a city asset. Obviously, there's going to be inherent costs in relation to upkeep over a 10-year long period. I'm not trying to be ignorant, but I can't believe that this 2.75 is in addition to the 5 mil that we've already dumped in there. I mean,
Councilman Scringy?
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry about that.
No. I don't, I'm cutting you off, but I don't mean to. What I want to do right now is I want to take a vote to approve pages 29 and 30, and we're not going to vote on page 212 tonight. We've built time into our budget. We have 2 more sessions next week, and we still have time after that. So I think it'd be wise just to get some context on the 2.75 million.
Yeah, because I'm forgive me. I'm really on the line about this. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No. I talked to President Resnick a second ago off thing, and I talked to corporate counsel just to make sure that I understood the procedure, but we do not have to vote on that page tonight for that
Correct.
section. So if somebody would make a motion to approve pages 29 and 30 and
So
not
moved.
include that page of 212 for right now.
So moved.
Second.
And I
Okay,
think with our
all-
budget rules, I think that would move to the next day, correct? Like that next open day on the budget calendar. Forgive me,
What's
I'm
the
sorry.
last
Just
day?
It would go to
yeah,
the-
that's forgive me, not the next budget day, but that last
right.
budget day. That as a
Right.
backup.
And we
Okay.
have a lot of things at the end, and that last day will be, probably a long session, but we understand that's just kind of how it works to wrap everything up. So we'll push it to then, and that'll give us early next week to get some of that information, hopefully from the.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that.
Okay, did we give it? Do we,
Councilwoman.
all in favor of those pages
Seconded.
29 and 30?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Sorry.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you for that. Okay. Oh, I was going to thank Ron, but he already left, so.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ron. All right, we have Joel with us. And so I would like to officially open pages 73 and 74, which are recovery and economic development. Go ahead, Joel,
Okay.
however you want to present
Um,
to us, then we'll leave some time for
Sure,
questions.
sure. We are a department at this point of two people, myself, the Assistant Director of Economic Development. We've been without a director. And we now have joined us 4 weeks ago, Rachel Priest, who was previously with our office about 3 years ago, has come back and to take the place of Leslie Cornwall, who left us for another position with the Housing Authority. Rachel is now our economic development specialist, our financial analyst, the person who helps us with loans and with some of the mechanics of the Binghamton Local Development Corporation. We have an unfunded position for an administrative assistant. We have other, I think, funding there potentially for an intern or something like that. With COVID and all, we've not had that opportunity. There's no office equipment, no overtime. Office supplies are the same as before. There's a professional services line for Willatus. Oh, that's taken out. I'm sorry. Maybe I don't have a current version. Okay. Our subscription dues and memberships are the same as they have been. And we have a marketing budget of $24,950. That has included things like posters, banners. We have to pay a licensing fee to BMI and ASCAP for events where we may sponsor music. We have had funding for Dick's, the Dick's Open, and Luma as well. We have an annual sponsorship for Vines. And we also sponsor the Farmers Market, the Downtown Courtyard Market sponsor event that this year was on Collier Street, but will be going back to the renovated space at the Metro Center.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Was that it, Joel, for this part?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Councilwoman Friedman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hi, Joel. How are you?
Hey.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. The first one is, you said that the Director of Economic Development position has been vacant for how long?
It's been vacant since Bob Murphy left us in the end of November 2019.
Okay, is there a reason why somebody hasn't been promoted to the interim director position?
Aviva, the problem when it's an appointed position, that person becomes an appointed position at the end of the term. That person may or may not be here, and trying to find someone for a 1-year type job was not going to happen. And last year during COVID, we weren't going to fill the position because we didn't know how everything was going to turn out.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. That makes sense. And my next question is, I don't remember if you said why the professional services line is zeroed out for this budget.
I will answer that for Joel. That was really a position where we hire a firm to help us obtain grants and things of that nature within the state. The mayor pulled that out because it's really up to the next administration whether or not they want to go that direction or not. And if they want to, we'll have to find the money, or person in my position would have to try to figure out how we could find the money to put it back in.
So that was an agreement or an arrangement that has existed for the past few years. And this year we're just not, okay. All right. And my last question is, just out of curiosity, under the dues and memberships line, what is the other dues or memberships? I know it's not a lot of money, but I'm just curious what that's for.
Yeah, I think, just to, say with the new administration, were we to want to join some organization, okay, there's a little latitude there for that.
Aviva, a lot of these like small little organizations like, won't say NICOM, but like the accounting firms, we can join individually. It's like $95 a month. I don't know if the law firms have things like that, Brian, but usually just something per person to join.
Okay, any other questions for Joel on pages 73 and 74? Oh, Councilwoman Riley, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Hello again, Joel. On page 74, our promotions and marketing have decreased significantly, so much that Luma is zeroed out, as well as Dick's sponsorship as well.
That is the same thing that we mentioned when we were talking about the mayor's lines, that the mayor feels that ARPA money should be used for tourism type stuff, and Luma being probably one of the biggest draws for the city of Binghamton, along with the Dick's Open and other items like that.
Okay, so we're not going to budget in hopes that.
Correct. I think he's looking to thinking like a 2-year plan on that.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Freeman, go ahead.
Thank you. I have a follow-up question to that. Let's say the council decides that that's not a priority use of ARPA funding. Where could that money come from in the budget as a backup?
That would be dependent at the end of next year in that time frame to find out if there's vacant positions and things of that nature that we can draw money from.
Okay, so let's say these lines are zeroed out, and then so just if you could help me understand. Okay, so we're not budgeting anything in the city. So then for next year, when those events come up, we would have those would be done on an individual basis, like an RL for a budget transfer or something like that.
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Joel on these pages?
Chairman, motion to approve pages 73 and 74.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you, Joel.
Thank you.
I see Pat. Is Steve with us in any way, shape, or form?
Let me see if I can walk through it.
Okay. We are going to. I know Pat's here. We're going to open page 97, and Chuck is going to cover that and for housing and HUD and admin and housing.
Basically, the on page 97, did you open the page?
Yep. Oh, page 97 is yes, 97 is open.
97 is basically the same as it was last year, with the one exception of temporary services. This was a person that's been with us on and off for the last year and a half, helping us with straightening out some of the problems we've had with HUD as well as with the COVID money. And at this point, if we need to bring it back for COVID, we can do that with the actual ARPA funds to do it. At this point, I don't think he's going to be with us next year, only because of his own well-being. What was the other line? Any questions?
Councilwoman Friedman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question about the vacant program assistant position. Why is that marked as 0.34?
The 0.34 means it gets allocated between different departments.
Okay, between, I'm assuming 3 different departments.
Yes.
Okay. And
what it is
oh,
that
sorry.
position was filled this week.
Okay. And my other question, I just wanted to follow up about the temporary services. Is that, you said that person has been here on and off helping out with COVID money as one of their responsibilities. Is that separate from the accounting firm that we hired? This is another person that's been brought on
Yes.
to help with the COVID money?
Yes.
Okay.
If you remember, before we have the ARPA funds, we had money coming in for COVID funds through FEMA and through other avenues, CDBG, and he assisted in going through all the applications and things of that nature to get people funding.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other questions on page 97?
Chairman.
There's no other discussion. Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. Were you going to say something?
I was gonna make a motion, but I think you might have been doing the same thing. I apologize.
We were, it's okay. A motion to approve page 97.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Okay. We have Pat is right here with us now. Would anybody be opposed? I don't think, even though there's a number of pages, I don't think this will take that long to do ramps, and Pat is right here. Would anybody be opposed if we just go ahead and just finish that section?
Move forward, Mr.
Right.
Chairman.
Is that okay? Okay. Okay, Pat is with us. We are going to open the parking ramps, serial bonds ban, other long-term debt, transfer to capital fund, contingency related to that. Rates, debt service, and the summary. I know there's a lot of pages, but between Pat and Chuck, I think we can do this pretty relatively quickly. So those are pages 128 through 140, 135, 136, and the summary page. I'm sorry, I said 128. So 128 through 140 and 135 through, 135. No, I'm sorry. It's pages 128 through 140. I'm sorry. 135 and 136. Couldn't read my notes. 135 and 136 are the operating portions. So if we could start there, and then we can work through the other pages. Go ahead. Anything you want to highlight on 135, 136, Pat?
No, mostly stays the same every year.
Yeah, but pull his mic up a little bit.
Okay, that basically stays same every year. There's a few changes in that, like the electric cost, insurance, right, Chuck?
Yep.
It's just the printing just remains about the same every year, because that's for tickets and tags. And we've been lucky they haven't gone up. I don't think there's much else changed here.
Mr. Chairman.
Pat and Chuck, I just had one quick well, for Pat himself, I don't see any personal services. Where does his salary come out of?
Management services.
Management services? Okay.
It's line 54427. All their employees, they don't have any, we pay them as a contractor.
Okay, okay. Okay. Councilman Scriggy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hey, Pat, how are you?
Good.
Good to see you. Either for Pat and or Chuck. So I noticed salt and sand that was decreased by, looks like 25%. Do we have more inventory on hand, or are we projecting less inclement weather?
We had inventory on hand left over.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Thank you. And the second question I had was at the bottom of page 135, line 54410. The network hosting professional services, that 27,000 is new. Is that directly related to something?
That is related to the new gates that we have on State Street and 7 Holly Street.
Okay. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Pat.
Councilwoman Friedman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Councilman Scaringi stole both my first two questions, but I have one question about the heat, line 54201. I noticed that we didn't spend any on heat in 2020 and have not spent any thus far in 2021. But we continue to budget $1,000 in that line. Can you explain why that is, please?
Because it's the new garage is gas. The other garages are electric. Yep, others have gas. The new garage has gas heat.
Okay, so we're projecting this will be the first year that we.
This is the first year we've used it. Yeah.
Okay.
The other garages are all electric heat.
Gotcha. Okay. And I have, so did we do page 136 yet? I think it was real brief.
If you have any questions, go ahead. They I think they were just kind of going with the not much of a change, but so go ahead with any questions you have there.
Okay, thanks. So my question is on the elevator service and repair. I'm just a little confused about how this is broken down. So it's listed as 12 at 340. Is that per person? That's
No,
like a
it's
one
12
shot?
12 months of inspections at 340 each. And then one time a year, we have to have we have a maintenance agreement that's for 12 months, 340 a month. The elevator inspection is once a year at $400. And that's for 7 Holly Street.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Councilwoman Riley, go ahead.
Thank you. I do have a question. I know we have, and clarify for me, 5650-54620 talks about equipment repairs and maintenance, and it lists the equipments, vehicles, and card systems. Does that include any repairs to the structure overall? For example, I know we have more work that needs to
No.
Okay,
No.
so that's a different line?
Yes, that would be a capital line.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the operating pages 135 and 136? Okay. Chuck, why don't you steer us through, we'll do the summary last, the series of bonds and debt and contingency, however you see the best order for that to go.
The serial bonds are bonds that we've worked on all the ramps over the years, totaling basically costing the city $958,000 a year, $662 for principal and $296,000 for interest. none of this includes the proposed Water Street ramp, the demolition and rebuild. Bond anticipation notes is money that we owe on a short-term note. I believe there's still roughly $1 million out there that we could spend. We have not spent a whole lot of this lately because Water Street needs it, and we're hopefully gonna put it towards a new one rather than a beat up one. Page 139 has nothing. Page 140 is a transfer to capital. This is to pay for fees associated with bonding or banning each year. $133 is how we're expecting the revenue to come in for next year. Holly Street 475, Collier Street 305, State Street 550, Water 300. Of course, that if we get all this approvals on Water Street, that this whole budget's going to change. And basically the important thing on page 133 is the last item, CP 45031, interfund transfers. It's costing city taxpayers $141,228 to operate the ramps above and beyond what we get from the customers utilizing the ramps. We have nothing in contingency on page 134, 129, 134 are the rates that we have. 129 are the rates for Collier Street, 130 the rates for Water Street, 131 for 7 Holly and State Street, and 132 is the debt service detail that we went over on the page 137, just more detail about them. And 128 is the summary of summarizing everything that we've gone through between the revenue and expenses by category. Questions?
Councilwoman Friedman.
Thank you. Yes, I have a few questions. The first one is on page 133, the budget line premium on obligations, 42710. Can you explain what that $15,000 is?
Yes, that is when we do a ban or a bond, some of the people that buy it, in this case, this I believe was a ban. They paid us $15,000 more up front, but charged us the higher interest rate. Hard to explain. I can't budget for it because I never know what happens. But in 2021, we received $15,000 to go towards the interest payment we have to make next April.
Okay, thank you. Oops, sorry, taking notes. Okay, thank you for that explanation. My other question is on page 129. The free parking times account for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday and Sunday. I was wondering, what about Thursday and Friday?
Oh, that's just the open lot. That's from 7 to 2 a.m. And then there's, again, it's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. It's always been, because it's an open lot. There's no gate on it. You know, there's nobody there.
Right. Okay, so it would
And we do
be-
charge now if there's an event at the arena, we charge, and then we charge if you look down. Where's the late night? Where's the late?
The late night is on the next page, Pat, 130, near the 3 up from the bottom.
Oh, okay, but then there's late night charges on Friday and Saturday nights.
Okay. Oh, well, that with
Yeah.
page 130, that's for a different ramp,
And
correct?
on page,
Right.
on 129, it's labeled as night parking fee, $5 from 2 AM to
Right.
7 AM
Yeah.
and special event.
Right. So where it says night parking fee on page 129, the Thursday and Friday would be encapsulated in the second night parking fee line, Thursday through Sunday,
Oh.
7 PM to 7 AM.
Okay. All right.
Basically what that's set up for is when we go in the morning, if there's any car there overnight, we tag it.
Right.
Right. Okay, thank you. And I have one last question, and that's on page 128. So I noticed that the appropriated fund balance line and the contingency line both don't have any amount listed. Is that because of the proposed Water Street ramp demolition, or is there another reason why those lines are blank?
First of all, we can't appropriate fund balance out of this ramp fund because it has a negative fund balance.
Okay,
But we are using the debt, that $15,000 that I explained from the premium obligations, and we're using 141,000, transferring it from the general fund.
that's for the contingency line,
No, there's
or
no.
that's
there's-
for the appropriated fund balance line you're talking.
Right, the contingency line is 0. We don't have any contingency in here. And the appropriated fund balance up above it is 0 because we don't have any fund balance to appropriate.
I see. Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Councilwoman Riley.
Thank you again. Hi, Chuck. Based upon the discussions that we've had, and I know we will continue to have discussions on the closing potentially of Water Street, do we have an estimated date and the approximate impact on the revenue lines
January 1st,
of 2022?
yes,
So we will have no revenue from Water Street.
correct.
So if we go back to that line, we need to remove 300,000 if it goes through as planned, or we should budget as if it is going through.
Correct. If we get everything passed through council, this budget has to be revised.
And that would then, so would that affect the interfund transfer as well? We would have to bring in RL because we would have to support some of the other things that we're losing because of that lost revenue.
Correct. There's also going to be a change in expenses too.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no other discussion, I'll make a motion to approve pages 135 through 140 and the summary and rate pages on pages 128 through 134.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
One.
Okay,
Council,
Councilwoman Riley, go ahead.
I was just saying opposed.
Okay. You got that, Janine? Okay. All right, before we adjourn, Chuck had a couple comments about the process going into next week.
We have a couple modifications to the budget that we will get out to you no later than Tuesday, close of business, related to the minimum wage, mostly due to parks employees. Just so everybody can see it and we can hopefully make, there's going to be multiple lines of motions that have to be made. I don't know if we can make one to change them all. But we'll either get it out to everybody on Friday or Tuesday. So you have it all to ask questions and see it ahead of time. It is going to be quite large. So anyone in here that was minimum wage or close to it, we had to change the salaries.
Okay, thanks, Chuck. Yeah, if you can get us that information by Tuesday, and maybe we can pre-write up the motions so that it's easier for us to go through them. That would be helpful.
Are they all within this, Mr. Chairman, if I may, Chuck, are they all within the same account line? Budget
No,
line, I mean?
no.
Okay, so they're scattered out. Okay.
Especially with
Thank
the
you.
account numbers. Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be, yeah. Okay.
And I also did get the retirement numbers and got through all them today, and there's going to be changes on those too. So just swapping them around for the most part between the ERS and the police and fire.
Okay.
I'll send that to you too, because it's fairly large dollars. I think about 250,000.
Okay. All right, early next week, obviously, well, Monday's a holiday, but I'll just encourage everybody to look. The last 2 days are going to be pretty long. So we'll look through those budgets as best you can. We'll get those changes from Chuck, hopefully by Tuesday. And if you have any questions for any of the department heads that you want to try to get with them before that, that would be great. If you have anything that really jumps out and so we're prepared to really hit those 2 days as thoroughly and as efficiently as we can. So with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So move, Mr. Chairman. Second.
Have a great holiday weekend.